When learning how to get better at Mario Kart Deluxe, people tend to focus on two aspects of the game, your driving and your ability to use your items well. These are both the two most important aspects, but there's actually another useful thing to know. It's not bagging, it's not your stats, but it's actually something you may have overlooked this entire time. Even though the goal of Mario Kart is to go forward, in some situations the best decision that you can actually do is to pause your game. The big question is probably why at this point. The pause menu in an online match usually is open to leave the match, but in the middle of the race you can access 4 different features on this menu. If you look at the pause menu, the 4 ones mentioned are smart steering, tilt controls, auto accelerate, and the map. We can disregard the map, but you should always be turned on for easy access to where players are at and if a blue shell is on its way to first. Likewise, we can also forget about auto accelerate, but unlike the map, leave this off all the time. It removes the ability to back up at all, which completely destroys the bagging strategy, which involves stopping at sets to get power items and catching up with them. This leaves us with the real game changers, smart steering and tilt controls. Smart steering is usually looked at as an option for casuals, but has many uses ranging from subtle to borderline broken. To those who don't know what smart steering does, it prevents the player from falling off the track. At least the best it can. It also prevents the player from charging ultra mini turbos, and that loses a lot of time. It's a feature you should leave off, but Nintendo allowing it to be turned on mid-race via the pause menu allows us to exploit its ability to stop the player from falling off. On DK Jungle, for example, you have to super bounce off this flower, or you risk losing too much time. This technique is not hard to mess up, so it's very easy to end up falling off the track. We can avoid falling off by pausing midair and turning on smart steering. It can end up being pretty tricky to know when to turn on smart steering, so this is when you should turn it on. If you end up bouncing at the pad at this angle, you should always turn on smart steering. You're going to fall off every time. Even though in online races the game still plays when you pause, if you pause at or earlier than I do here and turn on smart steering right after, you should be fine. After saving yourself, I recommend turning off smart steering during the boost you get from this SMT at the bridge section. You don't lose too much time since you are in a boost, and you can play as normal for the rest of the race. Knowing this technique will allow you to adapt to any situation in the game. This can include doing cool and fast methods of shortcuts, preventing yourself from falling off the track, or utilizing all you know to create complex strategies that can help you win races. Smart steering is a useful tool, but the benefits of it do not end there. Some items in Mario Kart Deluxe are stronger than others. This is why some of them are given the name power items. Whether it's a star, a bullet bill, or even the shock, the reason why players are so happy to see one is because it helps them catch up in races. Sometimes some of the items you pull may be a bit tricky to catch up with, or they have hidden downsides you never even thought about. Take the bullet bill, for example, which has a downside that many people who play this game do not even think about when they're about to use it. The bullet bill has 2 stages, the start and the end. At the start, the bullet bill goes through a consistent speed until it reaches the end section. This section of the bullet bill's journey will include it slowing down and then dropping the player off. Most of the time these drop-offs are actually pretty good and drop you off on the straightaway, but sometimes the drop-offs can be pretty bad. And other times they happen to be whatever this is. While it isn't possible to predict every bill drop-off, and using the build that leads to one may be the best play, you can prevent some of the damage by using smart steering. For example, on SNES Rainbow Road, there are no railings around the entire track, and it's very easy to fall off on 200cc, especially while you're in a bullet bill. But to prevent yourself from falling off, you can turn on smart steering. Even though there are helpful build drop-offs on this track, there is still a very likely chance that you can be sent off the track, making the safety net of smart steering very helpful. Like bullet bills, Goldens can be used well with smart steering too. On Neo Bowser City, there is an S-turn that can be very hard to do correctly, and it is even more difficult to do with the boost from a golden mushroom. The same way that we use smart steering on DK Jungle, and the same way we use it on SNES Rainbow Road, is the same way that we're going to use smart steering here. As you start to get to the S-turn, turn on smart steering. All you have to do from here is just spam the item button, because your golden's going to last the entire time and you're not going to fall off with smart steering. This strategy is actually a lot more important than it looks. Not only does it gain you a lot of spots, but normally you'd have to hold your item throughout this entire section. Although there is a shortcut here, if you have an item like a shroom, star, or even a bill behind your golden, your shots that gain first increase drastically. The last feature included in the pause menu is motion controls. You have probably seen motion controls used in multiple records across the base game and the DLC. The main use of motion controls is the technique known as motion glider, which can save from 0.1 to 1 second of time, depending on the track. The technique itself utilizes the fact that motion controls and your stick controls are both used at once. So while you're taking a glider, you're not only going one direction with your stick, but you're also holding that same direction with your controller. Online, you should really only motion glider on Mario Kart Stadium. You can do it on Dolphin Shoals, but that's too much risk for such little reward. While there are multiple way faster techniques to do this motion glider, the one that I'm going to mention is very straightforward, easy, and beginner friendly. As you trick off the glider, you should pause and turn on motion controls. Keep in mind that the game keeps on running as you're in the pause menu, so make sure that you turn on motion controls and close the menu before it's too late to motion glider. Once you unpause, you should be ready to do the motion glider. Make sure to tilt your controller to the left while also holding your stick down left. Start using your mushrooms and you'll find an easy way to gain some time on the motion glider. Keep in mind that when you unpause the game, the way your controller is facing is the neutral position for your controller. If I were to unpause the game while my controller was in this position, then the game would treat that position as this position. And that about wraps up everything you need to know about the pause menu. The only other thing I can add on to is the importance of learning how to maneuver the pause menu as fast as you can, because it will help you win so many races in Mario Kart Deluxe. This is also my first video since coming back to this YouTube channel, so I would appreciate any feedback, criticism, or support from you guys. With that all said, I think that's the end of the video. Goodbye.